Hi friends, welcome back to 3 Barrow Farm. For those who are new here, my name is Amy and I live on 42 acres with my family of 5 in central Victoria, Australia. So it's late November and I'm feeling the pressure a bit. This season I feel has been a few weeks behind. I feel like we've almost past the frost season. There could possibly be another one, but hopefully there is not. Fingers crossed there isn't, because I decided to take all of my frost cloth off my rows recently, and I do have them on hand. I haven't put them up very high in the shed yet. I've still got them close by because Thursday night or Friday morning is looking to get down to about 5 degrees. Now, this isn't frost territory, but I do take a few degrees off just because we tend to be colder than the predictions here. So say it gets around to 3 degrees, I might want to cover some of the summer vegetables. But the tomatoes are looking happy. I am yet to plant out any of my eggplants and capsicums and chilies. I have some zucchinis out, but I have had a bit of pest problems with the slaters and the earwigs eating into my seedlings. So I have been putting some protection around the seedlings. I've been cutting up milk bottles and cartons and putting them around each seedling. And I didn't have to do this last year, which is interesting, but the year before I had to do it. So perhaps I haven't popped enough calcium into the soil as well. The plants aren't sucking that up. We have had a lot more rain than usual, and sometimes this will cause the nutrients to wash away. But yeah, it's just interesting to observe and take note of. I have got another flush of seedlings inside. I've got some watermelons to plant out, and I plan to get everything out this week. So for things that take a long time, like pumpkins, I want to get them out as soon as possible. I was actually cutting up one of our pumpkins from last season's harvest, and I got a bit of a scare thinking, oh no, I haven't really gotten any pumpkin seeds into the ground or into punnets. And I sprinkled some seed very heavily in one of my garden rows. So I'm hoping that a lot of those will germinate, and then I can just thin them out as needed. And if the insects do come for them, at least I've got a lot of them coming up. So for me, planting them now, it means that I will harvest in March, and we get our frosts in April. But I feel like there's this shift happening, that the weather is moving a bit, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the warmer weather will move into April and we won't get our first frost until late April or May. We tend to get our first frost around mid-April, so I need to make sure that they have enough days to get to harvest. So it is a bit of a challenge to get everything in right now. Life has been a bit busy as well, so I'm taking it a little bit easier this year, being a bit gentler on myself, thinking that perhaps I don't have to plant everything, and this is okay. And each year is different. Last year I had much more time to put everything out. This year I just don't. So I would love to be out here every day, but life pulls me in different directions. So I have to be a bit gentler with myself and my expectations of myself and of the garden as well. If I get a bumper crop of 1 or 2 vegetables, I will be ecstatic. I'm a little bit concerned about zucchinis. I've planted out many of my zucchini plants. I think I'm just going to start planting out seeds each week from here till January or the end of December, just to try and get some zucchinis would be nice. And hopefully now that I'm protecting my seedlings, things will succeed a lot more. All right, let's get into the garden and harvest a few things. Right here, I've got some spinach that is going to seed, and it's amazing. It was like this tall, and now it's up to here. It's probably 1.5 feet in height. And so I'm going to harvest most of this today and freeze it. Now, just because it's going to seed doesn't mean the flavour changes at all. The spinach still tastes the same. Of course, the stems of the spinach start to go hollow and a bit woody. You know, they're much stiffer, so you can't use the stems. You can see the seed coming in here. So I won't be using the stems of this plant, but I will definitely be taking all the leaves off. And I find freezing them raw is perfectly fine, especially if you're going to use them quite soon. So I just freeze them in Ziploc bags that I reuse over and over again. And I'm just cutting them at the base here and taking off the yellow leaves at the bottom. You don't want to eat the yellow leaves. They've lost all of their nutrients. If you did want to keep your spinach in the freezer for a longer time, so say past a month or two, I would blanch it and then freeze it because this helps keep the nutrients in for longer. Now, I have been picking from this spinach all through winter. It wasn't very big in winter because, of course, it's colder and things don't grow as fast. But this spring, we've been eating from this spinach almost every week, and it's done its dash. And I don't feel bad about cutting this out at all. It is past it. You don't want to try and keep vegetables in the ground for longer than they want to be. So this is a decent amount of spinach here. And as you can see behind me, I've still got more that's going to seed right here. I'm going to leave these until tomorrow. I will harvest them tomorrow because I'm very conscious of my time and I want to get this into the freezer while it's freshly cut. And I've only got so much time this morning, so I want to be smart about that. I don't want to overdo it. So this is going to be really easy just to break off all the leaves, probably cut off some of them. If they're not coming off easily, see how it's sort of a bit stringy there? So I'll just break the leaves off closer to the leaf and leave the stem because some of these look like the sort of woodiness is going into the leaf. But if it comes off quite easily, then you're fine to leave the stem. And it also depends on what you're going to do with the spinach. Like if you're going to use this in salads, I would leave the stem off because that woodiness has started to go into the stem. If you're going to throw it in a smoothie, you can just throw in the whole stem of the leaf if you're doing a smoothie. So this one here has only just started to go to seed. So the leaves are still young and they're coming off quite easily. And the development of the seeds is very young. So this one's only just started to go to seed and won't be as tough as the ones that have come up like this high. All right, let's go and see what else is happening in my garden. This broccoli has popped up very quickly and you can see the lighter colour coming through between the darker. This will start heading to seed soon. This is just the start of a broccoli starting to put up its seed or put out its flowers for seed. So I'm going to cut this today. We'll eat it for dinner. So I've cut this out completely now. There's a little weed there, but I've got all of this carrot seed coming up along here and some sorrel and some spinach. So this is my next lot of spinach that's coming up. So my plan was always to cut this broccoli out, and I've sown all the seed underneath the plant and beside the plant so that the seed has time to take off before I cut out this broccoli. And I'm just taking out some few weeds and tomatoes that are coming up among my carrots, and I wonder what this is here. I have got all these parsnips coming up along this row here. That is very exciting. I haven't had parsnip growing in a while. So I'm very excited about that. I could be out here all day taking out all of these weeds. So I need to come back and do this. I also need to thin out the sorrel a bit. There's a lot of sorrel coming up here, and also the fennel. The fennel just does not want to give up. I'll have to grow fennel in my front garden away from my vegetables in the future because it becomes like a weed. I don't think he's interested, but his friend is coming to have a little look. Nope, not right now. I have the last cauliflower developing here and it's looking good. I think it will be ready in a few weeks' time. Oh dear, there's some more fennel coming up. I can't get over how big the apples are already becoming. I'll put my hand next to them so you can tell, but some of these are early apples, so they'll be ready in March, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And so no surprise that they are getting quite big already. Whereas there are other ones that are still titchy tiny. Okay, for those who have been here for the last few videos at least, remember that one zucchini that just popped out one leaf in the first leafing stage? It now has a second leaf, but I feel like this one is perhaps a dodgy one, and I will replace it with a different zucchini plant very soon. And this one over here is an example of the bugs eating into the leaves of my plants, but there is another leaf coming out here, so today I will put something around this to protect it. It possibly happened when I had the towel over the plant to protect it from the frost. The towel was definitely a lovely hidey hole for all the bugs, and this brick here probably holds a few insects underneath it, a few earwigs. Maybe not. The potatoes behind me are doing really, really well, and the ones that were affected by the frost are doing just fine as well. They've still got a little bit of burning on them, and I could possibly cut some of this out from the leaves, but it's not hurting the plants in any way. I've also got about 1 million calendula plants coming up in this area, which I need to come out here and just pull most of them out before they set larger roots. And I've got lettuces coming up as well from all that seed that dropped from those few lettuces last season. And I can hear that quiet buzzing of the bees up in the poppies. They're having the time of their lives up there. All right, I could be here for ages picking out all of this calendula, but there is something else I want to harvest in my garden, and I kind of need to do it before all this rain that's coming later this week falls onto my garden. As you can see over here, I've got these massive beetroots going to seed, and I really need to put some stakes in and tie them to the stake to hold all of this seed. But in front here, I have some garlic that has scapes on it. So here are the garlic scapes. Now I can cut these up and freeze these. So I'm going to be taking some of these off the garlics today, but I'm also going to harvest some of my garlics because I believe that they've been in the ground for long enough now. And I want to harvest them when the soil is drier. And because we've had those warmer days of recent, I want to harvest them now before we get somewhere between 15 and 30 mils of rain coming up. And these have been in the ground for over 6 months now, so they should be ready to harvest. However, because the cloves were really small, I'm thinking that these garlic heads are going to be small as well. But that's okay. At least we're getting some garlic. Let's see what we get. Now I'm going to use this to help lever up the garlics because it has rained over the past few weeks. So the soil is a bit moist and I don't want the heads to break off their stems as I pull them. So this one is a purple garlic. There it is there. So ideally I would have harvested my garlic yesterday, but I was working yesterday, so I couldn't do it. And what I'd do is I'd harvest it and then I'd lay it on the ground and let it dry a bit before then taking it inside later in the day. But because there's rain expected today, I'm going to take this inside and lay it down probably on one of my clothes drying racks. And I'm going to put it in front of one of the doors so at least the air can flow through and it can dry that way. I'm pretty happy with this garlic head, and this plus the fact that it's letting out garlic scapes to me means that the garlic's ready to harvest. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest the rest in this patch. Now I normally bend the neck a bit or break the neck of it. This just helps this part die off and it dry faster, I believe. And it's getting a bit cooler now. I almost need to put a beanie on. I'll put my sun hat on instead, but I'm going to get on with harvesting this garlic. After I've taken all of this garlic out, I think I'm going to take all the calendula out too, because this patch last year had this rust that was occurring on the leaves, and these plants have got the same. It's got the rust now coming out. So I'll take all of this out and I'll probably plant some zucchinis in this section here. Hopefully the rust doesn't affect anything I plant here. And there are some bigger heads of garlic coming out of here, which is really exciting to see. One of the garlics looked a bit funny. So this is what the leaves look like above. It's doing some weird wacky things. And I can only say from looking at this garlic head that perhaps too much water was getting to this one, starting to separate. All of the skin around the head of the bulb is rotted away or still there, but quite wet. So yeah, I'll be using this one first. But I got some good sized heads for the size that the cloves were. I think this is my smallest one though. It was very much overrun by the calendula here. This is a note to myself too, to make sure I thin out all of the calendula or take out every single calendula plant that is over with my potatoes, because they compete for everything, for the space, for the water. And you can see that in some of these bulbs. They've really struggled because they've had other plants right next to them. Okay, I've got all of these garlics all the way down this row. So I'm gonna harvest this one, see what it looks like. This is a different variety, I believe. Yeah, it's a whiter variety, and this one's not very big. I feel like I could leave these a little bit longer to see what happens with these ones, and they haven't let out any scapes yet. They've got a few bottom leaves that are starting to die off, but of course they've also got all these calendulas to compete with. Now this here is a wonderful sign that the garlic is ready to harvest. Just like with your onions, once the stems bend over like this, they're ready to take out. So this little patch here, I'm going to have a little look at what this one looks like, and then I'll probably harvest the rest of these. Now I'm not sure what this one's called, but it doesn't look like it looks like it's just one whole bulb. There's no cloves in there. Let me dig another one up. This one's quite big here, big on the outside. See how big it is on the inside. Oh yeah, that's more like it. Here we go. This one has cloves, you can see them. They're quite well defined. Now let's have a look at my trusty phone. I've started using this app on my phone to record all my garden stuff. So record what I'm planting, what I'm sowing into the garden, and then it tells me when it's ready to harvest. So this, I believe, is the Australian white garlic. And then the purple ones are the early purple garlics. And I planted all of these on the 22nd of April. And I'm now harvesting on the 26th of November. So here's the app. Here it tells me when things are ready. I am adjusting these times because I know that, well, it said something about, I believe it was the pumpkins. It sort of said that they would be ready earlier than I know they will be. So I'm sort of adjusting them with the amount of days that's on the seed tag as well, like on the seed label. I'll put the name of the app on the screen. It's so good to be taking this garlic out because then I'll have more space to grow other things. And I love a patch that's already pretty much bare and ready to go. I generally cut off the roots after I've dried my garlics. Let me know if you do it before you dry them. All right, that's what's in this little section here. I've got some more beside me or in front of me just here that I might have a little look at as well. It looks like it's the same as the one that I took out a bit further up. So I think I'll leave these a little bit longer and just see what happens. We've had so much rain. I don't think they're at any risk of rotting. And it looks like one leaf dried off here earlier on, and this one's starting to dry off, but I have a feeling these might need a little bit longer. I might harvest them in December. Some of my chives are so big and long. Look how big this chive is. That is massive. I have dried chives in the past. Like I've cut them up into small bits and dried them, and they don't taste as great dried. I feel like they lose some of their flavour. So I'm wondering if I freeze some. Let me know what you do with your chives for preserving. We, of course, don't have any chives growing here throughout the winter. They go dormant during that time. But right now we're adding these into eggs and stir fries and lots of dishes. Let me know what you do with your chives, if there's anything else that you do with them. But yeah, I can't believe how big these ones are getting. It's like they're on steroids. Something else that I need to harvest the rest of are the broad beans. There are so many of them, but what I need to do is find the plants that I want to keep in the ground so that those broad beans can dry off and I can keep them for seed. So I've got these little strips of fabric here to tie around the plants that I don't want to harvest from and that I want to keep for seed, so that I don't end up cutting them out and that other people in the family know not to harvest from those plants. I had someone ask me how you know whether broad beans are ready, and normally you'll see the bulges in the pod, but the main objective is when they're pointing up, they're still developing, and once they're pointing downwards, they're ready to harvest. The last lot of broad beans that I harvested, I ended up blanching and freezing in batches so that I can make broad bean burgers. Some of you have been asking me to share my broad bean recipe, so I will be doing a video very soon on my broad bean burgers. They're very easy to make, and I'm hoping to make a good batch of burgers that I can freeze them, and then I can just take them out of the freezer and cook them up when we're having a really busy day. Okay, I'm pretty happy with this lot. The wind's starting to pick up and I think I need to go in and have a cuppa. So I'm going to go inside. I'm going to pop these up to dry. I'm going to blanch the broad beans and freeze the spinach. Thank you so much for being here, my friends. As always, I hope your garden is growing strong and you're reaping the benefits of all your hard work. Let me know if you've harvested some garlic recently and what you love making with your broad beans. We all love to hear your suggestions in the comments. And as always, to help everyone see my videos, please do like and subscribe and comment down below. Share the video and also hype it as well. Thank you so much for your support, friends. See you next time.